That's the doorbell at Jimmy's house. Now, when you come to my house, my doorbell sounds like this.
Hey, welcome to the People's Weekly, October 1st, 2019. I'm here with Canadian Glenn and Nolan Hack. How you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Acceptable.
Happy to be back. Didn't expect it, but happy to be back.
Wow.
Yeah, today we got... My phone's ringing, look at that. Today we got, it is kind of an impromptu, just last minute kind of show, but there's a lot going on, so I thought we have time, everybody's available, let's do it. Let's go over, announcements first. So we can start with you, Glenn. What's going on with the View Up Here and everything you're doing?
Well, we are 20 days away from the Canadian federal election. Never a dull moment. The propaganda and the dirty tricks and the revelations are coming out nonstop. Some pertaining to societal values, some pertaining to lies about people's backgrounds, achievements, etc. But I mean, hey, it's a campaign. Everybody lies. So, it just depends on what the narrative is. I'll have a couple pretty thick shows lined up as we get close to the election. Otherwise, there is a chance that by the end of this calendar year, the View Up Here will come to an end. And I'm just looking at options. I'm considering a Patreon. Almost anybody I've talked to, when you do this for long enough without accepting anything for it in return, it loses its appeal, shall we say, and I'm at the point where between my platform, Blog Talk Radio, and my hosting setup and my website, which I pay for in US dollars, is becoming beyond the point where I feel it is worth all my time to do it. So I've got a poll out pinned to my Twitter page. I think it's up for maybe another 16 hours or so, if that. And I'm just asking people if they would consider supporting a Patreon, because that would have a lot to do with whether I'm going to keep doing this. I mean, I'm coming to, it's a little more than 5.5 years in actual time that I've been doing it. And it just might be time for it to come to an end. And then I just become a guest on other people's shows. So we'll see.
Well,
I'll speak for myself and say I hope it continues. He gives a great amount of information and insight about what's going on in Canada, the social issues in Canada, and also I don't want to say a tether, but just how it can connect to Western politics, U.S. politics, U.S. social issues. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you check it out. Glenn does a great job.
Yeah,
thank you, sir.
For the remaining shows that are still happening.
But that's all I got to say. Anybody else?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I said for the remaining shows that are still happening, they can be found Wednesday nights, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on theviewuphere.ca, or you can follow at Canadian Glenn on Twitter and find the shows through his, Blogspot Radio, BSR, whatever.
Blog Talk Radio.
Blog Talk Radio, BTR. I don't use it. I use crappy speaker.
And they're owned by the same company.
They're owned by the same crappy company.
Yep.
So
Just
yeah.
different categories of never solved bullshit with each platform.
So yeah, anything going on with you, Nolan, or Kevin's case, or anything new? Any info you want to get out there?
Kevin's case still stalled. I mean, it was supposed to take a few months. The DNA, doing the DNA test, it's finally been approved, and then getting the results. And even though I have some access, as far as some inside information about him and his case and all that, I have heard nothing new. And we're going on 6-7 months or however long it's been since that was approved, the DNA testing. So we're just waiting and waiting. Of course, in the meantime, Kevin Cooper, a innocent black man who was wrongly convicted of quadruple murder, is still wasting away on death row. So that's rough. And I pray for him. I hope for him. And it's kind of like the whole Botham Jean thing, which we're going to obviously get into. But there are more Kevin Coopers than we know about. If you actually know about Kevin Cooper, there's Rodney Reed, who was wrongfully convicted and is now on death row. He's scheduled to be executed, black man, in Texas in November. And it's Texas, so it's not looking good for him. It's just so much of this, and it's hard not to worry about other folks in the same situation, but then you realize if you put all your time into researching all these other cases, whether you're talking about death by cop or the legal system throwing us in jail, putting us on death row, your head will fall off your neck, and you won't have any time for anything else. So it's a depressing thought, but my heart goes out to Kevin and Rodney and all the other brothers and sisters in jail and prison where they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think a whole lot of cops need to take their place.
Amen. Mm-hmm. Amen. There's still the entire LAPD force in prison. Start with that. I only say that because that's where me and Tim live. We live in the LA area, so.
Yeah, I think every city wants their cops to be in prison for all their corrupt bullshit. But well, we're gonna talk about that. Kind of happened, maybe, hopefully, today. But yeah, today we're gonna talk about impeachment of Trump and what it means. We're gonna talk about the Amber Guyger murder of Botham Jean and the guilty verdict she received today. We're gonna talk about what that means, and we're gonna talk about immigration, and there's a lot of talk right now that these concentration camps that have immigrants in them that nobody seems to care about are soon going to have homeless people in them that nobody will care about. So those are the topics for today. As far as People's Radio goes, there's another Music to Riot to coming. I've been working so many hours, I haven't had time to do anything. It's called For the G's. I don't know when it's coming, but probably in the next week or two. And we're going to try to do these People's Weeklies, actual weekly from now on if we can. If not, as often as we possibly can with our schedules. So we've been gone for a while. We're back now. Sorry about the delay. Hopefully we'll stay back. It's nothing bad. It's just, it sucks we're not doing the shows as frequently as possible. But at least everybody here is, it's nothing drastic keeping us from doing the show. It's just working and stuff and life. So, for now we're back, and I guess that's it for the promo part of the show, so we can move on. Is that cool with everybody?
Good with me.
Yep.
Or Glenn, you want to talk about your sponsor real quick?
Oh, okay. Today's show is brought to you by Death Bubba.
Death Bubba, wow. See, I didn't even talk to you about that before the show. Usually I know. That's a big surprise. Yeah, I have Hardcore OG. That's what's going on here right now. Hardcore OG.
Cool.
I like to stick with those OGs sometimes. So yeah, first topic. Nancy Pelosi was finally forced to start an impeachment inquiry against Trump. Will it actually lead to impeachment? And if so, what will that mean for the Trump regime? Will impeachment kick off a civil war for many Trump supporters? Oh, that the many Trump supporters seem to want, or not? What do you guys think about this?
You know, it's interesting that this is one of the topics because, as you said in the beginning of the show, this particular October 1st show was kind of thrown together. I don't want to say like at the last minute, but you know, some of us weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it, and you know, we didn't know what day, et cetera, et cetera. And anybody who knows me knows my body doesn't always cooperate with me, so I was kind of teetering on the brink of being bedridden. But I was like, you know what, I get up and I'll try to do something. And so what I ended up doing was I'm making a thread about Mike Pence because, you know, if the president gets impeached, we're going to have Mike Pence as the leader of the free world. So I was looking at some information about the man. Not a very good man. This is a guy who says that he's Rush Limbaugh on decaf. Okay. According to the New Yorker, Pence's political career has been sponsored at almost every turn by the donors who Trump has assailed and brought in to his presidential machine. Pence is the inside man of the conservative money machine. Pence loves the Koch brothers, Koch Industries. They were vital to Pence's rise into politics. The Kochs were very excited when Pence was nominated as the vice president. This is Harold M. Ickes. He is a big-time Democrat, was Bill Clinton's deputy chief of staff. Harold's father was in FDR's administration. So big-time Democrat, knows a lot about American politics. This is what he says about impeachment. Democrats should hope Trump stays in office. And according to the New Yorker, he says this because Trump makes the better foil, and because Pence might work more effectively with Congress and be more successful at advancing the far right's agenda. Now, I've been saying the same thing for a little while because Trump is an idiot. Pence is smart. When you're smart, you're able to complete your thoughts and your ideas and put them onto paper in a form where other people can understand them, and like-minded people will possibly agree with what you're saying. And when you're a politician or the frickin' president, you can get those things turned into law. And this is the same Mike Pence who helped shut down Planned Parenthood clinics in Indiana. After these clinics were closed down, there was a spike in HIV outbreaks in Indiana, where he was the governor at the time. And all of those clinics offered HIV testing. So cause and effect. And this year, the Trump administration cut federal funding for HIV and AIDS research. So this guy's, I mean, as I've said before, and others have said on the show before, all these Dems, all these Republicans, all these presidents, they're all assholes. They're all genocidal bigots. But Pence is up there with Trump as one of those, like, okay, this is about as bad as it gets. You know, we don't want him in office. But he's the guy who's going to replace Trump if Trump gets impeached, which I still don't believe he will. I still don't believe he will. But that's the argument on the table. Okay, so if you are able to impeach Trump,
that's
Democrats,
not what they're saying, though. That's not what the Democrats are saying. I mean, that's a fact. Pence is a fucking...
No, the Democrats are saying that, right? But the
Democrats are saying, "Oh, Pence will only be in the office for like around a year, and then he'll get kicked out. He has no way to win." They don't realize he's a real.
He could definitely win again.
Yeah, he has the vote of all the Christian lunatics. Yeah. But they're already putting President Pelosi up. Like, they'll both get impeached, and Pelosi will be president, and they go right past all the crooked shit she's done, and it's like, yeah, these people are delusional, man.
And that's the ridiculous thing. The only way impeachment works, really, with any president, I don't know if you're talking about Andrew Johnson, Richard Nixon, Bill Clinton, is if you impeach him and the entire cabinet. It's the only way it works, because these are people he hired. This is the administration that president wanted. So you're still going to have his folks in there, and Pence, his vice presidential pick, a big guy, according to the Koch brothers, a guy that we should admire, because they sure do. And that's what it's just being thrown out of the window of logic. It's like, you know what? If we impeach Trump, we'll be fine. Because it goes along with that line, Trump invented racism. He created ICE. Anything bad with foreign policy, he started it. This myth, and the same thing happened with Bush. Before Bush came in and after, once he came in after Clinton, Bush is ruining everything. He's ruining the economy that Clinton built up so much. Well, not for the colored folks, but anyways. And of course, after Bush comes out, look what Obama's cleaning up everything. Oh, you mean like expanding on Bush's AFRICOM organization to enslave Libyans? Because that's not making things better. So it's just a game of genocidal musical chairs.
Yeah, it makes no difference to me if there's a Democrat or Republican in office. They're both fascists. They're both warmongers. They're both corporatists. The only difference that these people seem to like is the Democrats will throw us a bone once in a while. Some shitty bone, like you can pay the insurance companies a lot of money and get maybe some halfway decent health care, but it still sucks. You know what I mean? Or we'll try to clean up the air a little while we wage war all over the world or some bullshit like that. But it's not enough.
Yeah,
or pretend to. And then the Republicans, they're not going to take your guns or kill babies for those people that seem to think those are big, huge issues. Like some people, that's literally all they vote about, is if they're going to allow abortion or limit guns in any way. Like, that's all they care about. Once the babies are born, hand them a gun, send them off to war to die. That's fine, but...
And Pence is a huge opponent of abortion. Trump actually believes that Pence is too extreme when talking about women and gay people and their rights. And this Pence tried to make it law where if a pregnant woman that was facing death, like she doesn't get help, medical attention, she could die. Tried to make it legal for government-funded hospitals to turn away a pregnant woman who was dying. Tried to make that legal. He tried to make it legal where he'd ban abortion, even in the case of rape or incest. This, like Trump, he's about as bad as it gets, and that's who the liberals and the Democrats want to be president. because if Trump is impeached and kicked out of office, that's who's going to be president, Mike Pence.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see any difference. Mike Pence, I mean, as far as re-election, Mike Pence probably has a better chance at this precise time because he's the real deal religious whack job, and the religious whack jobs will go out in numbers to vote for him. And I think that's part of the reason they voted for Trump, because they knew he'd keep Trump in line as far as, you know, trying to cause the end of the world, Armageddon, all the shit they want for their religion, supporting Israel blindly no matter what they do.
He's
like I said, the shit that matters to the whack jobs.
Sarah Palin. He's the opposite of Sarah Palin, because Palin was the whack job vice president who didn't know A from Z, and McCain was a long-standing
Palin was never
politician.
vice president.
Well, I'm sorry, was the vice presidential pick. Excuse me, was the vice presidential pick of McCain. She was whack job, didn't know A from Z. McCain, long-standing politician, plenty of experience, obviously an intelligent guy, and here you got the reverse effect with Pence and Trump.
McCain was just another fascist too. See, that's the thing they do, man. Like Bush, Trump's dumber than Bush, so they're like, oh, Bush wasn't so bad, you know, or McCain died and he didn't like Trump, so anyone who doesn't like Trump can be hailed as a hero. It's just bullshit. These are terrible, terrible people, man. And these people, like, lift them up on some little pedestal. It's like, what the hell?
The same thing's happened with Ronald Reagan.
They loved Reagan when he was in office, no matter how evil he was. They loved him because he was an actor. Go on, Glenn, sorry.
Is it my turn now?
Check it.
Well, first of all, to what Nolan said about Pence being the brains, this is just a rerun, in my opinion, of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. The real scary one is standing behind the clown. I think it's the exact same thing. Cheney's religion is a power offshoot connected to money more than anything. The only difference with Pence is his religion is power through religion, not necessarily money. Like, Pence is one of these guys that if it's a question of money or demagoguery, ideology, he actually will take the ideology over the money. So, I mean, you know, what does that say about our world where the blind, overwhelming capitalism lust, there's still something worse than that when you're judging people on this scale. There is worse than money over all else, and that's your twisted religion over all else. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, they're connected so frequently, I don't think it really matters which one they belong to. But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, who wanted Dick Cheney to become president? Like, that scared the shit out of people. And rightly it should have. And Pence is the same. It's the same terrible results, just not the same motivations.
And it's the same. I was going to say, it's the same Pelosi that refuses to impeach.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's go to that. I mean, there were violations of the emoluments clause from day one. So, you know, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. If there wasn't serious noise in the first 3 months about what was happening, then I think that's a clear signal. You know, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And as a little more time's gone by, we've heard about all the people in the Congress part of government who are doing quite well with Trump stealing every dime from the U.S. government that he can. They're getting a lot of it too. Look at McConnell's wife. Look at DeVos. There's all kinds of examples. You know, this is true club that takes what they want. So now the issue of why they refused to impeach earlier, I remember mentioning this once on another show. I saved a thread because it explained it so well, and then when the show was on, I couldn't find a goddamn thread. But I did find it again not too long ago. And the big difference this time with the Clinton situation or the Nixon situation, the way the White House is going about fighting all these demands that Congress is making on the White House to produce documents, to produce transcripts, to produce contracts and ledgers, who got what money from who, the way they're going about fighting it this time is what's causing the delay. Because no other White House has ever tried this method. If there's anybody that knows how to fuck up the courts, it's Donald Trump. I mean, his entire life experience speaks to that. Mm-hmm. So if Congress was to go away from the procedure and agree to go to court and get off the procedure, that sets a terribly dangerous precedent. That means anytime a president is screwing around, if Congress wants to investigate him, all he has to do is file this in this court, and everything comes to a grinding halt. And that would happen by them agreeing to go to court. And they're not. And I agree with that decision. It is deviously effective from the White House. That is evil, intelligent tactics. But, you know, they found it, they're using it, and that's why it's at a dead halt. But now what's happened with this entire new issue of the whistleblowers, plural, and an active operation by the White House to fuck with the intelligence community. This is a whole new thing, and this is actionable much quicker. So will anything happen by the time the next election comes? No, that's not what it's about. It's about a timeline that is short enough to not fade away, that people say, oh, that again, click. They think there's enough material to keep this ramping and rolling all the way through until at least nomination time. And then whoever wins the Democratic ticket will be able to take it from there. I mean, I think that's what's going on with the timing and everything. Is there enough evidence to impeach that piece of shit? There was in 2016. But, you know, I mean, the Clinton investigation showed how long this process can take when there are two sides to the issue. I mean, that's another thing with Nixon. When the American public was watching the Watergate hearings live on TV, and all the soap operas were preempted, and the ratings went up, Washington learned a lot about that, you know? So even a lot of Republicans went against Nixon once the proceedings were wide open. It's like, oh shit, I can't support the apparatus right now, or I'll get caught in the kick them out roller coaster, you know? So, I mean, the same thing's going to happen with Trump. If there's something that comes out that is just really, really too far, wherever that may be, because I have no idea where the bottom is anymore in United States politics. But if that point comes, you'll see a lot of Republicans turn on him. And we're seeing enough already with this article of impeachment. I mean, the first round, there were no Republicans that went along with it. That's not the case this time.
Yeah, Scaramucci said that if they could take a private vote, that probably 30 Republican senators would vote for impeachment.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. That's the thing. They're not going to let them have a private vote.
Well, jeez, I wouldn't be surprised. But at this rate with the government and the guy they let become president. I mean, geez, it's hard to deny any possibility. But I will say again, I agree with Glenn, and I've said it since the jump. He's not going to get impeached. And the other thing, another thing that bugs me about the whole impeachment thing, like with Clinton, like with Nixon, they're pegging him for something that's really insignificant by comparison to his other crimes in office or out of office. You know, the alleged rapes and sexual misconduct, alleged rape of a child.
Yeah, they don't care about that. They only care about America.
When they don't care about that, because a lot of the things that he's been doing in office that is so horrible, they've supported or done themselves. And even the most, quote unquote, left-leaning Democrats in Washington have voted to fund Trump's wall. You know, some of them have voted to protect a genocidal organization in NATO. They've, pro-Israel. They funded ICE, you name it. So it's hard for somebody to want to impeach somebody else when your own rap sheet is pretty damn bad and you're doing the same damn things. So that's another, and I think on top of that, it shows you that the Democrats, they don't really want to impeach Trump. At least, and definitely to this point, they haven't, because if they did, well, geez, just get him for the damn immigration crisis. He's literally committing genocide to Native people at the border.
That doesn't matter either, Nolan. You have to understand, when a Democrat comes in office, they're going to keep that stuff going straight through just as is.
Well, of course,
they might not ramp it up like he wants to do, but they'll keep it going. They're not going to stop these camps.
Yes, Obama still has the record that Trump will probably break it, but Obama still has the record for most of the deportations.
Why would you want to stop someone from doing crimes that you're most likely going to do when you get in office?
Yeah.
That just draws attention to what you're doing. So no, of course they don't want him out of there. They want him out of there because he's not their party. The Democrats are shit just like the Republicans are shit. And the sooner people fucking realize this, the better off we'll be.
And I don't think it's even the party, because when Bush is president, because Bush president, well, either one, obviously horrible person, horrible president, but you didn't have a host of Dems, pretending like they want to impeach him or calling for, or holding impeachment votes like they've had 2 already for Trump. The thing with Trump is he makes the country look really bad.
Oh, there was a big call for impeachment.
He's a clown. Well, from more from the public than Washington.
Yeah, and then Pelosi ran on the fact she was going to impeach Bush, and as soon as she got elected, she's like, "Oh, impeachment's off the table."
Exactly. Well, Washington's like, no, we're not going. No, we don't like him, but we don't like him. It's not like we dislike him that much where we're actually going to try to impeach him. It's just a thing with Trump. He's a clown. I mean, he's making a mockery of this alleged democracy. He's making a mockery of, white America's precious country and constitution, and quote unquote America the Beautiful. That's why they want Trump out. Because if they really wanted to, even if it was just by party, they wanted Trump out because he's a Republican. Well, then they'd try to go after Pence. They try to make sure Pelosi's the next one in line where she becomes the president. So they have a Dem in there, but that's not what they want. And they're choosing something that the Democrats did themselves in the 2016 primaries. And you still have Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's part of the DNC. She helped rig the dang primary for Hillary. She's still in Congress.
Yeah.
So if you really care about, election fraud, well, then why in the hell is she still allowed to be in the United States Congress? And you're choosing something that is a lot more difficult to prove than, say, the the genocide of Native people with the immigration crisis, the stealing of native land with Bears Ears. His documented mistreatment of women before he got elected. The fact he won't release his damn tax returns. Like, if it was a court of law, there's a bunch of shit you can convict Trump of in 5 seconds. But they're choosing something that's very difficult to prove whether he did it or not. I mean, you have another country now, 2 countries involved, Ukraine and Russia. That's pretty damn difficult, but they're choosing something.
You have Saudi and I believe North Korea involved as well. He had a server he's been hiding all these conversations with foreign leaders on. Anything that seems damning to him, I suppose, is what he's been hiding on this server. In fact, Fox News did a whole Fox and Friends episode where they were talking about it, but they wouldn't use the word server. They were like, it's this repository where he's putting things to keep him safe. Yeah, he has a special safe place, but they wouldn't use the word server because, that connects him with what he was saying Clinton should be locked up for, the server, the private server. It was so funny watching him go. Somebody put that video, it was on Twitter, it was just like them saying any kind of thing but server. Yep. Like, he has a special place where they put these important documents in a special private place where they can always, be safe. And it's just anywhere with server. It was so funny. But yeah, we got to get to the end part of this. So this impeachment inquiry, which isn't impeachment as people seem to think, is happening. No one knows where it's going to go, but Trump, as well as in a tweet, as well as other Republicans and Trump supporters are now talking about if they try to do this, they're calling for a civil war. Well, how funny do you think that's going to be?
Well, first of all, that is the most illegal thing that he could possibly do. I can't think of an illegal act as president of the United States that is a higher degree than calling for his support over the Republic. That puts the Constitution in the toilet, period. So I think that says a lot. Oh no, if I get wrongly removed, break the absolute highest principle that we have because I'm a good guy. And I mean, just a complete reversal of logic is just amazing that it happens.
Well, maybe the one piece of history he remembers is Jefferson Davis, because Jefferson Davis literally led a war against the United States and committed treason.
Yeah.
He died a free man. So Trump is thinking, well, geez, I mean, maybe we won't even get to a civil war. Maybe I don't even want one, but I could just blow smoke and try to push back against this whole impeachment thing and scare folks because nothing's going to happen to me anyways, like everything else I've done.
That does make a lot of sense. But, just from, it's amazing how all the Republican bubbles are all about my Constitution, but they never really explain anything about it. They just, pick and choose little pieces and say you can't break the Constitution. Well, that's like somebody saying that you can't speed, but they never go the speed limit themselves. It's the same kind of bullshit.
It's these same people, Glenn, that use the Constitution the same way they use the Bible. They take little bits and pieces to suit their needs out of it.
And that's exactly what happens in radicalized Islam, but yet that's the only instance where we see it identified like that. When it happens over here, no, that's not what it is.
Yeah, that's. I just think it's going to be funny.
One other thing, this thing that's going on with the power and how nothing will really change anyway. It's about the front. Look at what's happening in Israel right now. It's the exact same thing on a much faster timeline.
Yeah.
Bibi's just too much of a heat score. Like, fuck this guy. Get him out already. Who's the next ultra-fascist? Oh, Benny Gantz? Oh, yeah, he fits. He fits.
Yeah, I was afraid to get too excited about his possible imprisonment and him losing the election, because we're talking about Western ideals here. We're talking about Western politics, white people in charge. None of it's going to be good. It's not like the new guy is going to go, all right, who's the leader of the Palestinian delegation? All right, let's sign this document. You get all the land back, and we're cool. Like, that's not going to happen. Can't really get too excited about things.
It's the same thing like with the Democrats. But here's the thing I'm saying about the Civil War thing. Think about any Trump rally you see all around the United States. There's a few of these cats, and a big one, there might be 100 or two. I'm not talking about the ones Trump is at. I'm talking about the ones where they show up. The real whack jobs where they show up and they have to get run out of towns. There's not a lot of them. So these are probably the cats that's going to be picking up guns trying to start a civil war. They're going to get wiped the fuck out. It's just going to be a lot of terror attacks pretty much. And if they try to go any further, they're going to get wiped out. They might get wiped out by the American government. If not, we're going to wipe them out. The people will do it. They think they look at, they say, oh, our enemy is the left is Democrats, they don't like guns, but they don't realize, fuck Democrats, there's people more far left from Democrats, and we got guns, and we ain't putting up with their shit. We got more shit than they do, some of them, and they just, so it's going to be just stupid. It's just going to be like a whole bunch of terror attacks going on. That's what I think is going to happen if they try to remove Trump. A bunch of his most, it's going to be crazy. People will be all terrified and scared. Where's it going to happen next? But it'll just be like if ISIS was wreaking havoc in a bunch of cities, Yep. It's not going to be this big civil war they want.
Maybe something like
they're delusional once
Afghanistan
again.
or Iraq right now, where you have civil unrest. Yeah. Not a full-blown traditional war.
But there's not, I'm saying their numbers are the fully insane ones. There's not that many of them. I think a lot of people do it just to be different. It's like a cool thing to do. If you're like a racist or something, go get a Trump hat and go to these little rallies and show up. You really think they're ready to blam on some stuff and start a war? These cats are bitches. I've been out there before. They're not as brave as they like to make you think online.
Oh, racists never are.
Yeah, okay, but that's coming from a different perspective than when your government does it. And I mean, just look at the other times in history where the government has basically called for selective insurrection. Just look at where those countries are. I mean, the Chile overthrow, it's happened how many times in Central America and still is. And that is just fascist bullshit. That's all that ever is. So,
the U.S. is involved in most of those overthrowings.
Yeah, but now it's time to run the model at home.
Well,
I think you're right, Nolan. It will be nothing but basically like we've seen in El Salvador. It'll be right-wing, small hit squads. That'll be about all that happened. Any call for civil war in the United States in 2019 is going to turn into revenge killings. That's about it.
Well, and you don't have, because of all the stolen resources and the absolute addiction to bloodlust and militarization, you're not going to have something like Chile. You're not going to have something like Egypt, or, the Arab Spring, where either peaceful or violent overthrow. You're not going to have that because there's not enough support to actually impeach Trump, and forget impeach Trump, to actually storm the Capitol and go, no, we're done. You're done. Get all this out of here, or at least get him out of there. Those Trump protests after January 20th of 2017 didn't last very long. So what you're going to have, if he gets ousted. You'll have an impeachment. The House and the Senate impeach him. Okay, get out. You're gone. It's not going to be like, people with AK-47s overtaking the Capitol and then marching in the White House and say, Donald, come with me. Come in this van. And that's not going to happen. But if he gets impeached, it'll be more, I don't want to say civil, even though it will be more, if that happens, it will be more civil, because it kind of adds to that myth that white countries and Western countries are more civil. It's just, this country has so many weapons and so many resources to protecting itself that armed overthrow is not going to happen.
I'm just saying they're outnumbered. The fascists are way outnumbered and outgunned. So are the police. The people just don't know it. But that's for another show. We need to move on because we're way into the show and we still have 2 topics. So, yeah. Fuck Trump. Fuck Pence. Fuck Pelosi. I think that's what we got out of that. We learned something today. Fuck them all. All right, in an unusual yet pleasant turn of events, murderous ex-Dallas cop Amber Guyger just received a guilty verdict for the murder of Botham Jean by a jury. We are hoping for a harsh sentence to set a precedence for other cops around the country who routinely get away with murders of unarmed people. Do you guys think that's going to happen, or you think this is a one-off? I mean, I really thought this was going to go the other way. It's a blonde woman, white woman, who murdered a black dude who had the audacity to be chilling in his own house.
How dare
And I thought she was going to get off, like, with no problem, but this is good.
Well, I think that she's definitely the weak link. I mean, I would think that at some level, somewhere, it's like, sooner or later, we're going to have to convict one. And we've got the most idiotic act you can imagine with lethal force by a scrawny white woman in Texas. Yeah, that should buy us some time. She'll go down. No, I'm serious.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think about it like that. That's kind of...
she'll go down. Whatever. Nobody's, we'll see where the police union is.
We can throw her name out when they say we don't do anything, right?
Exactly. And we'll see where the police union is there, because look what happened. Look at what's his face, Pantaleo. Look how the NYPD union just would not stop. If the police unions in Texas don't do the same thing, then I think it proves what I'm saying. She's the sacrifice. You're going to be the poster girl for killer cops, and it'll buy the rest of us a little bit of slack for a while, because the media will give them the slack.
Let me ask you, Glenn, what kind of sentence do you think they're going to give her? You think it's going to be a slap on the wrist of like 5 years maybe? I think it's 5 years mandatory. Or do you think it's going to be a long, serious sentence for murder, like if a black cat had murdered a cop and got caught or something?
Well, somebody tell me what is it, second degree or first degree murder?
I thought it was first, wasn't it?
I think it's first.
Okay.
That was
right.
a surprise.
Yeah, that is a surprise. Now, that may be an avenue to appeal.
But very possible.
So maybe, maybe this is just part of it. We don't know. But I mean, that I can see that working. Convict her on first degree murder.
Hey, here, it's manslaughter, not first degree murder.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Time out. Seriously.
Oh, no. Wait, here we go. I'm reading it wrong. I'm trying to read through it real quick. Hang on. After less than 24 hours of deliberation, a Texas jury has spoken. His verdict, stunning as the senses. Former Dallas police officer Amber Guyger has been found guilty of first-degree murder in the shoot. Okay, yeah. Okay. And it said not manslaughter. Okay, I didn't even know why manslaughter was in it.
Well,
right.
I can see that being an avenue to appeal. A jury decided the degree. It doesn't sound like they were instructed. Maybe they were told by the judge, you can convict on first, second degree murder first, second degree manslaughter. Maybe that's what they were told. And if they picked first degree murder, I think there's a chance this could be appealed because, in my opinion, unfortunately, it should be second degree murder. I'm not really seeing premeditation. If her story can be believed, that she was so fucked up, she didn't know what house was hers, what apartment was hers, then how do you make the case for making it first degree murder, that it was preconceived,
Well, I don't know all the details. I heard stories that she knew the dude and she didn't know the dude, and she was dating some other cop, so she didn't want to. I don't know, all these weird stories.
She was dating her partner apparently.
But okay, wait, real quick, just real quick. What do you guys think about the judge yesterday? Sorry,
being disappointed.
A chance to go with the stand your ground defense for her.
No,
but she wasn't in, she's in this guy's house. How do you stand your ground in someone else's house? So some people are saying the judge was a racist trying to give her one last chance, and hopefully the jury will go for it. And other people are saying the judge did it so they can't use it later on in a appeal. I don't know how that works, but any thoughts on that?
Well, first off, there are very few judges who aren't racist. Second, to piggyback off what Glenn was saying, to connect to this, the judge throwing that argument out, to me, is what she was doing with this. Oh, I didn't know what I was. I thought my name was Angie, not Amber. I didn't know anything about anything at all. I was just completely confused. When there's no doubt in my mind, however she got to that point of being in this house, the moment she saw a black man, kill him.
Yep.
Just a reflex. And white women especially are taught to fear black men. They're taught that we are scary, we're uncivilized, we're savage beasts. Especially police officers, white police officers. Sadly, even black police officers. That's a story for another day. But if you believe what she's saying, then okay, under the law, would lean more towards second degree murder. But I don't buy that for 5 seconds. I mean, this is a cop in Texas, who magically winds up in a black man's home and kills him. To me, that's just like, I don't know if there was a call. I'll say this much. Over the last, I'd say maybe 9 months to a year, I have not, and this is on purpose, I have not followed most of the death by cop stories and instances because it's too damn depressing. There's too many of them. You follow a bunch, you'll miss others, no matter what, how much effort you put into it. And it's just, as a black person, it's very depressing. I mean, like the LA Times, I think came out with the news that death by cop is the most likely way young black men will die, which is terrifying. Makes sense, but it's just terrifying. So I don't know every ounce of information in this case, but what I do know, you have a white cop and a black man in the South. To me, maybe she heard something on the scanner, and on his block. Well, okay, I know that two black.
They were in the same building. She lived downstairs from him, and she was drunk coming home. I think she was on duty.
Now I remember that. Okay, there you go. So, yeah. So first, okay, that proves my point. And I remember a little bit when this when this happened originally, because it was ridiculous. It's like, what are you doing in this house? And she's saying she thinks it's her place. Like, give me a break. It doesn't add up. And also just from the stereotypical white cop, black person death. She wanted to kill him. She wanted him dead. I don't know if it was she didn't like him. They knew each other. I mean, most of them don't like us anyways. I don't know if, he turned her down for a date, or he has nice things in his apartment. She's jealous, and it could be 100 million different things. But I do know she wanted him dead, and she killed him. And the thing is, this is normal. I think if people understood and wanted to understand that this is normal, black people get killed by the cops, Native people even more at a higher rate. The system wants us dead or in jail. It's written into their laws. It's written into the Constitution. The 3/5 of a human being thing for black people has never been taken out of the Constitution, even with an amendment. The language is still there. So this is all normal. This is all going according to plan. What didn't go according to plan, of course, is us fighting for to get off of slave plantations and not be literal slaves with chains around our necks and our feet. That was not in the playbook of the founding fathers. So you have a situation where, hey, a jury of her peers, other human beings, things are a teensy bit different now. We can walk the streets, freely here and there. And she got convicted of murder. That, to me, is the only big surprise in this whole thing. Because it's so hot. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know when's the last time a cop in America did not kill somebody during a day. This basically happens every single day statistically. They kill
in LA alone. It's every 5 days they kill somebody.
That's just
in LA. And in the United States, I think it's one every 3 or 5 hours or something.
There you go. So they kill us every day. They lie about it every day. Once it hits the news cycle, oh, well, he was a thug. Versus if a white person blows up a church or shoots up a school, well, he wasn't loved enough. He was misunderstood. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, the pigs always get off. Like 90-something%. It's such a high rate. It's like less than 5% of them get convicted for the murders of unarmed civilians, basically.
And there's
like 2 or 3 a day. 2 or 3 a day, man. It's every 5 or 3 or 8 hours or something. A cop in the U.S. is murdering somebody.
And I don't know how low. Even I'm pretty sure it's much lower than 5% of cops who kill people of color, especially a black or indigenous person, who get life. I don't remember the last time it's happened. I don't know when the last time.
I say get convicted. I didn't say get life or anything. They don't get. Right. Yeah, they get. What's his name? He executed Oscar Grant, and he got 3 or 5 years. He got whatever he got. He did less time. Then he got out and he got hired as a security guard somewhere.
Laquan McDonald, 15 shots. Dan Dyke got 7 years? The cop.
I think so.
So it's I don't know when the last time that's actually happened, and that's what we're looking for now. Even though, it's been I think said already on the show that we don't expect her to get life. They
should give gangbangers the same sentences they give cops. Them cats would be out on the streets and all the time. They wouldn't be able to arrest anybody for anything.
Well, I have one other piece of conspiracy on this. What if Amber Guyger was being harassed or assaulted at work?
What the hell that got to do with that dude?
Nothing, but Do you think all the cops who were abusing her are going to come to her defense? What works best for them? Put her in the fucking joint for a while.
No,
Yeah,
shut her up.
I mean, there's a whole case going on in L.A. right now where these cops are twisted. They'll date other cops, and then when, like, if the female cop leaves the male cop, they'll start spreading. That's happened in L.A. They start spreading her pictures all over, like naked pictures he had over to all
revenge
the other cops.
porn within the cops.
Yeah, nothing happens to the guy. She can just sue the department. She's shunned by them now. She's the loser because,
wow,
you know, she shouldn't have been such a whore or whatever, quote unquote, according to them.
I'm a broken record, but if I'm not mistaken, there was an episode. And I don't watch the show. If I'm like in a hotel lobby or an airport or doctor's office and Law and Order's on, okay, I'll watch a little bit of it or hanging with someone who had Law and Order on. But if I'm not mistaken, there was a Law and Order episode where revenge porn was the case. And the way they framed it, like they always do with cop shows, they made the cops, you know, and the lawyers try to convict the guy because revenge porn is awful. And I'll say this again. This was the
LAPD supervisor that started spreading this as she was dating.
Supervisor. These cop shows,
like he was her superior, you know.
Not even surprised. These cop shows, these cop movies, military included, the genocidal propaganda. You are trying to make terrorists, rapists, child traffickers, sex traffickers into heroes. It's like freaking making a show about ISIS and making them look good.
Yeah, it's propaganda. That's what they call it.
How many enemies did Law and Order win? How many sequels have they had?
NCIS. Simpsons did it.
Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. And people want. I mean, some of my friends. Some people I've known for a while, they'll tell me like, "Man, this cop thing's out of control. I just can't believe it." It's like, you're not paying attention. It's always been out of control. It's always been ridiculous. But the reason people think it's abnormal is in large part because of this media. These fairy tales they tell about the police and the military. There's a show on CBS called FBI. This is the same organization that paralyzed the civil rights movement, killed Martin Luther King, killed Malcolm X. A U.S. court proved the FBI killed Martin Luther King Jr.
The media always pushes up the cops as heroes and the feds and the government and whatever. That's their job. That's what they get paid to do.
Bad Boys 3 coming out. Cops happen to be black cops, which in a way for me is a different form of depressing. Because it pushes the narrative like, no, black cops they're the good ones. Mm.
All cops are bastards.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, fuck the television shit. It's all fake, man. I'm telling you. It's all pretend, and if people believe it, that's on them because they stupid.
So are we supposed to give like estimates for her sentence here, or what?
Yeah, what do you think?
We're gonna frame it like a sports panel show. We're gonna make a prediction.
What do you think will happen? I don't think she's gonna get a hard sentence.
All right, Bill. What do you think the score is gonna be on Sunday?
I think she's gonna get like the minimum possible.
What are the Vegas odds?
I think 7's saying 3 years.
You know, I'm gonna be an optimist. I'll say 10.
7 for the cops. 1 year. 7 saying 1 year. He thinks.
Well, which one is it?
It's 1.
I'm reading old tweets. His last one says 1 year, or old chats. 1 year.
I do think the minimum sentence under Texas law is 5 years sentence, whether that's served or not. You know, that's a whole nother story.
$40. 7 says $40 on 1 year.
I think
it is. It's a mandatory 5-year sentence. I don't know how that's going to work. Go
I
on,
think
Glenn, I'm
that
sorry.
They fixed this legal system so many times. They could work a way around that. Especially a cop in Texas.
Wait, let Glenn say what he's saying. I interrupted like an asshole.
I think before sentencing is handed down, the state is going to know if they're going to appeal. If they are going to appeal, then she'll get 8 years. If they don't appeal, she'll get the minimum 5. And
I say 10. I'm going to be an optimist, so I'll say 10.
yeah, I'm really scared. I don't think this is in a court of law with the factors involved and where it is. I really don't think this is first-degree murder. And I think there's an appeal coming. It's guaranteed.
I wouldn't be surprised. But then you do have something like the Daniel Holtzclaw case, white cop who raped a lot of black women. He went down for like 270 some years. That was in Louisiana.
Well,
that was shocking. That was only a couple of years ago. Well, rape and murder, look at the two biggest human sins.
Look at this cop that murdered the mentally ill or the mentally disabled man in Costco. He bumped into him, and the cop pulled out his gun and blew him away. And that was totally legal.
Totally reasonable response.
So I swear, next time I go to Costco, someone bumps into me, I'm blowing them away, and I expect to get off.
Just make sure you have a badge on you, then you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean that's what you do in Costco. You blow people away for bumping into you by accident. You just smoke.
They blow prices away, so why can't you
I'm
blow
not done.
people
I'm
away
making a comparison. Then you got a cop who went into a bathroom at some sporting, I don't know, some stadium or something or whatever, and took pictures of dudes secretly, and he got fired and charged with all kinds of stuff. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you do some weird, rape or taking pictures of naked people or whatever, they take that way more seriously than murder if you're a cop.
Well, rape they don't take that seriously most of the time. Same with
if you get caught
murder.
As a serial rapist, they do.
Well, not necessarily, because there's sex trafficking rings all over the country that cops are involved with, and so often is the case, nothing happens to them. Like, they may get charged, but nothing happens to them. And Holtzclaw, these are black women, along with Native women. These are the most dehumanized human beings on the planet, especially in this country. So that was just shocking. What I'm saying is, hey, you may have, I don't think it's going to be life. I don't think it's going to be close to life, but you may have 10 years, 8, 12. I'll stick with 10. But
I hope
the fact
you're right.
he's convicted is a big. It's something else. That's positive. Sadly, that's very, very surprising. It's big news. So
yeah, I'm hoping the chat. They're saying the sentence will include time served already, but it's still the sentence is what we're talking about. I don't know. I think she's going to do the minimum possible. Whatever the minimum amount they can give her is, that's what they're going to give her. That's my thoughts on it, because that's how they usually do these pigs. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope she does far more than 10, but I doubt that's going to ever happen.
I definitely don't think it's going to be far more than 10. But yeah, like Glenn said, she could have this thing appealed and be back on the street. So...
Hey, Nolan, if you went across the street and shot the motherfucker living in the house, just walked up in his house and killed him, how much time you think they're going to give you?
First of all, they wouldn't give me time to move to the next city. There'd be just SWAT team near me within 5 minutes. I mean, that's death chamber stuff. I mean, they'll put us on death row just for being black, let alone if you actually kill somebody.
That's my point. They always get, these cops get special privileges.
Just so if you kill a cop, oh boy. Which is so, again, broken record, so hypocritical. There's still stories and even movies and TV movies. And Ross Geller from Friends, a.k.a. what's his name, David Schwimmer, he made TV movie. I think it was like I think it was called Uprising. It was about the Warsaw Uprising, Polish Jewish folk fighting back against Nazis, killing Nazis. People look at that and, well, a bunch of heroes. They are heroes. They were heroes. But if we kill our Nazis, God damn, niggas killing cops is horrible. Throw
it was the same then.
Fry him, put him in the electric chair, throw away the key.
It was the same then, Nolan. It's just a movie people are watching after the fact. In 200 years, you see people killing cops now on television from America. Now you'll be like, oh yeah, they're doing some righteous stuff.
I hope so.
It's just
That's
how fried pork. I wish they'd fry her, put her in the electric chair.
Adam Fryer.
He said fried pork. It is Texas.
Amber Fryer.
Fryer.
But don't forget, this representation of the Warsaw Uprising is now coming from this side. When it was happening, Nazi media called them exactly what American media would call it if it happened here, you know? I mean, it's just perspective, that's all. So it is the same.
The Houthi rebels, yep, same deal.
Yeah.
All right. We got to move on. Fuck them pigs. All right. It started with immigration, and nobody cared. Fascist ICE agents and CBP agents started separating immigrant families and locking them in concentration camps, putting kids in camps. Now politicians and a lot of police groups are considering locking homeless U.S. citizens in concentration camps as well. Will the masses continue to sit by and do nothing to stop this, or will they finally say, damn it, I've had enough?
No, they'll continue to be asleep at the wheel. Yeah.
Because homeless people don't deserve anything. They I heard somebody say that when I brought it up. They were like, well, they got to do something with them. Like concentration camps is the right answer.
Well, yeah, they're put in that pile, that pariah pile, with the black folks, the native folks, now the Arab folks, LGBTQ community, women, disabled people, poor people, homeless people. Anybody capitalism doesn't like, anybody that white society doesn't like, they're put in that pariah pile. And of course the people are already in ICE detention centers. You got a bunch of native kids, native folks suffering in there, so it's part of that pariah pile.
No one cares if immigrants are in there center. But these people say they care about U.S. citizens because those people are immigrants and they don't deserve to be here is their argument. But I don't think they're going to care when U.S. citizens, the poorest of the poor people who have no place to live, because they look at them as a plague on their community. I heard somebody say the police should be allowed to firebomb them. People set fire to these people. It was a politician's son was setting fire. He started one of these big California fires by trying to light a homeless encampment on fire. Serial killer motherfucker. I mean, it's these people are sick, and they don't realize anything goes wrong. You lose your job. How long before you're out there? Now you're going to a concentration camp.
Well, you got the President of the United States saying that homeless people hurt the environment. Which is weird because he doesn't believe the environment's really being hurt because he doesn't believe in climate change. But
he's talking about the environment of people's property values. I think that's what he cares about.
There you go.
You know, they're in your environment, bringing down your property values. But here's the thing, man. We were talking about this the other day when I was last filming like a week ago. They have all these vacant, empty lots all over the place. They don't want people on the streets. Why don't they just purchase these lots and let people have little sections in them? Like this is your section, this is your section, this is your section, and you can stay in these lots here until we can get you something better. And then when that one gets full, you move them to a next one. You could even put a shelter on it and build some stuff. Put restrooms and trash cans and showers. Like make them little mini campgrounds or something, you know? It's the solution's so simple. If you don't want people on certain areas of the street, like on the sidewalk, then get places where they can stay legally without being harassed and park their car there if they need to or whatever. Like there's so many solutions just to solve their bullshit problems. Like, we don't want to see these people here, or we don't want this or that, before you go to some extreme of locking people away. You don't get a mental health care. You don't give them anything they need. You don't give them a way to survive, but you're going to lock them the fuck away in concentration camps. And they're going to die there. They're not going to be taken care of. And they're just going to, eventually we're going to have these death camps under whoever, Democrats, Republicans, it doesn't matter.
Well,
we're heading toward that.
I think there's nowhere near enough attention or comparison paid to exactly the way American society reacted in the Depression, the Great Depression, with, millions of men hopping on freight cars, trying to get somewhere where they could get a job, the soup kitchens, all that kind of stuff. When it was happening in real time, it certainly wasn't the great struggle and crisis that everybody knows it as now. Back then it was, this is a pain in the ass to the powers that be. What can we do with all these people? Like, get them off the streets. Isn't there nothing they can do?
Yeah.
And this is just a progression of it. They're set up this time. They got shit ready to go. And, I don't know. I mean, if this sort of fascist direction continues in the U.S., I can see an eventual border wall being built by camps of American citizens. How fascist can you get? There, I just did
it. Well, and under this system, both of the country and capitalism in general, there's not much that can be done, because homeless people, poor people, are in the exact spot they're supposed to be under capitalism and under the American government. You have about half the country, half the states in the country with a minimum wage that is half of what an average one bedroom rental for an apartment costs, which is about $19 an hour. So how the hell is anybody, supposed to just rent an apartment and live and have shelter and warmth? Not everybody got a chance to go to college. Some people didn't even get a chance to finish high school. So what are they supposed to do? They're trying to work. The myth that people don't want to work. Well, what if people got 2-3 jobs? Can't make ends meet.
Some of them do work and are still homeless.
Yeah. Wyoming's minimum wage, according to Paycor.com, is $5.15 an hour. That's less than a third of that $18.65 an hour you need to rent an average one-bedroom apartment in this country.
What someone was saying the other day is that for every billionaire, you need so many hundreds of thousands of people living in poverty to keep them
there you go.
A billionaire. So it's what has to happen. If we want to have these billionaires that these people can worship and bow down to, like Jay-Z and the Amazon guy, Bezos and all that, then you need hundreds of thousands of people living in poverty. That's how capitalism works. So keep sucking these millionaires and billionaires' balls, y'all, and that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, this is why I continue, and I know I'm in a very, very small minority, but this is why I continue to advocate, especially for black folks, for my people's politics, the politics that so many Africans practiced before we were colonized, either by Arab folks or white folks. We had societies that were all about helping one another. If you had somebody struggling, okay, how do we help them? What do they need? Let's give it to them. And I think you can argue Native people even more so, especially if you're talking about disabled people. Now, I am disabled myself, so I could speak to this to a point. if you're disabled in this country, and unless you have friends, family members that care about you, you're in serious trouble, because the government's not going to care anything about you. They're not going to care about you at all. They're not going to do anything. They're just going to leave you out to dry. But you had Native folks all over, North America, what is now North America and South America. If they saw somebody that was sick, they saw somebody who had health problems that were hindering their quality of life, they would do whatever it took to help them. And that is the exact opposite of what we have here. And that's why I keep advocating.
They'll do whatever it takes to help them, as long as they have the money to keep paying for them to do whatever it takes to help them here. That's capitalism. You can pay or die.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's ridiculous, man. We need to. You're right, though. We need to all get out there and help our own species that are living in poverty. Like, what the fuck? Instead of trying to say we need to get rid of these people, why won't they go to a shelter, this and that? Do you know what it's like? They tell these people, oh, we want you to go to a shelter. If you have a pet, you can't bring your pet. You got to get rid of your pet. If you have a significant other, they can't come either. You can't do any drugs or alcohol. You can't do anything. We're just and you have to come in at a certain time and be gone by a certain time. So if you work in those times, too bad for you. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just this giant set of rules. It's basically like, oh, lock yourself in prison for a few hours every day to sleep. But you have to get rid of all your stuff. You have to do it. I mean, it's so miserable. People don't want to go to these shelters. That's what I'm saying. Why don't they just build something on these empty, vacant lots they have all over and let people stay there, put shelter up, put a roof over their head.
You posed a question going into this topic. Will the public actually stand up if this happens? And they won't. And the perfect example of this is, again, another question that was posed, well, how can anything be done about the homeless to help them? Because it's just so difficult. Society, it's just there's so many problems to be fixed. How do you help them and their issues? Well, for goodness sake, if you're signing a bill to give the military an extra $1.5 trillion, that kind of says to the homeless, well, fuck you. We're just going to keep you in despair.
Well, now, that kind of ties in, because they are talking about keeping them on camps and abandoned military bases.
Well, and you have even the people who have been on the show, the people on the show right now, most of our friends, the people we work with within the movement, we're in a minority. Whatever you want to call us, far left, freedom fighters, activists, revolutionaries, whatever. We're in a small minority. People in this country, Canada included, it's liberal, conservatives, left to the right, or to the left, to the right, or in the middle. And of that majority, the people farthest to the left of that level, the farthest liberal, whatever phrase you want to come up with, they support people like AOC. Now, AOC signed that bill to give the military an extra $1.5 trillion over the next 2 years. Same bill, she gave Trump the power to fund his wall, to block the immigrants that she cares so much about, that she says. But
I think we've established that Democrats and Republicans are shit.
Right, but these are but remember, the majority of the citizens, whether they're political or not, their thinking is either liberal, conservative, or in the middle. So even the closest to left-leaning people in this spectrum, which is the majority, they certainly don't care. Because look at the people they're supporting. They continue to go, and this, in general, this speaks for that majority at large. They go, well, that's too bad. this country's great, or well, it's not Nazi Germany, so just stop complaining. Just have
it's going to be
have some respect for this government.
What's going to be interesting is to see how, if this goes through and they start shipping off homeless people, we're not probably going to know for a while. People like me or people that are down there a lot will start noticing people missing and asking questions and then figure it out eventually. But at first, you're not probably going to know, because people disappear sometimes. They go to jail, they get out, they move, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But the thing about it is, they're going to snatch up a lot of these people out here are veterans too. So are these patriot, America flag waving, don't kneel because you're disrespecting our veterans, our precious, precious heroes? Are they going to do anything about it?
Depends on the color.
I bet they're not going to say a fucking word. I bet you they won't. Hypocrite motherfuckers.
Well, until they have to. Not till they have to. I mean, right now, isn't it? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. What is it? 22 U.S. veterans a day commit suicide?
I don't know. I was kind of giddy about the cop suicide rate being so high. I was loving that. I'm encouraging them too.
I think the difference
Sorry,
here,
Seven, but they are cops.
The difference here, if white veterans go missing, for one, if it's not explained, then we got a missing persons case. And especially if it's a woman and a young woman and a blonde woman with blue eyes,
these people are homeless, though, we're talking about.
But still, some of them do have friends and family that know them, and they haven't seen them in a month or something, and they ran away. A lot of these missing people became homeless.
Yeah, but I'm saying that these people don't even like the white homeless people. They don't like any of them. I've noticed that. That's a group of people.
It's true. I just mean the veterans. When, like I was saying about that majority, a very high amount of those people in that majority are very hesitant to criticize the government at its core, especially the military, especially veterans and people who are on active duty or currently in the military. Because what the phrase, you even see it on comedies, even allegedly left-leaning comedies. Oh, thank you for protecting our freedom. What does fighting in Iraq for oil have to do with my freedom? Like, what are you talking about? So if, like I said, let's make it the most extreme example. What is treated like an endangered species in America, the white woman. If a blonde, blue-eyed, young white woman who was a veteran goes missing, and then it's found that she was put in one of these ICE camps, you may see the needle pushed a little bit as far as going after ICE and actually people actually doing something against ICE, because then you're hitting one of us.
ICE is scared about this right now because they're training for urban warfare, and they have scenes built by, I guess, set designers that look like Berkeley and Chicago streets and stuff, and they're training for combat, full-on armed warfare combat in these places. Like, why the fuck does ICE need that?
Forces.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Well, maybe that's. I mean, that makes me believe my own point even more. Because if Becky goes missing, and then we find Becky in a detention center, I think there could be some real outrage there.
I think there's going to be people angry, but not enough. Like they're not going to team up with those people that care about the veterans. They're only going to care about one or two veterans that are popular. Some of us are going to be pissed off that they're taking anybody there. We're already pissed off about immigrants going there. Now they're taking more people. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where is it going to stop? Some people might get pissed off enough where you have small groups going to do something. But what we need is masses. We need, like we always say on this show, the more the merrier. We need millions of people out in these streets, surrounding these detention centers, shutting them the hell down, raiding them, doing whatever the hell it takes, armed, unarmed, whatever. Like, no, you can't do this here. It's not going to go down. these ICE agents can just get murked. I don't care. Like, we're all here. We outnumber you. We outgun you. You got to shut this place down and leave. You know what I mean? We'll lock you in here. That's how it's got to go.
That's the only way it's ever actually worked anywhere.
Well, yeah. but see, this is sticking to my point. Take something like the suffragette movement. You know, Susan B. Anthony.
No one's arguing your point. We're just telling you what it's going to take here.
Well, for all people, right? But I'm just saying, you know, because veterans are already being placed in ICE camps, but they're of indigenous origin. They're not white, so nobody gives a shit. But I'm saying, if Chad or Becky, who's a veteran, gets placed in those camps, then you may see some serious public outcry, public outrage, and maybe something. As far as ICE goes, something may be done because that affects white folks. And when something affects white folks, then everybody cares. You know, then, oh my gosh, look at this. I mean, I saw an article in the headline, and this is the conversation.com. Very, for the most part, you think of freedom fighting publication. The article headline was, Germany has atoned for their past and, you know, its own Holocaust. America should follow its lead. I'm like, time out. First of all, they haven't paid Jewish people enough. Second of all, there's freaking Nazis in their government right now, in their military right now. And also, there were black people in those camps that they haven't acknowledged to this day. Murdered, experimented on, sterilized, the whole 9 yards, just like the Jewish folks. And we haven't gotten a dime in reparations. We're not even counted in the German census, even though the UN says there's 1 million black people living in Germany. So, no, they haven't atoned for shit. But the point is there, oh, you mean atone for the sins they committed against white people. So that's why you care. Just like my point being, if Becky or Chad gets taken into one of those detention centers, then the public may start.
There's going to be a lot of Beckys and Chads. I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's got to be a real special Becky that gets a whole lot of media coverage somehow.
Like Elizabeth Smart?
Hang on.
In terms of missing person.
But these are homeless people that get snatched up and taken there. They're not going to be like, we got her in an ICE detention camp.
But we're talking about veterans. This country.
Go ahead, Glenn.
No, what I'm saying is what Nolan's saying is legitimate, but I think there's a step before that because this happened in the concentration camps in Germany every once in a while too. They pick up the wrong person. Word gets to somebody else in the system who doesn't think that person should be in there. Then the regional command or whatever gets their one chance to let them go. And if they don't, then we'll see it in the media. Only if they don't let go the odd person that somebody says they should let go, then it'll hit the media. Because, you know, that's free pressure. You don't have to actually use your office or your chain of command to get what you want. You let the media do it for you.
There you go.
Yeah, I just think a lot of people can start disappearing and most people won't notice.
Yeah.
I mean, thousands of people, and most people won't notice. They'll be like, oh, the streets are much nicer and cleaner. This is what I've wanted all along. Now we can get these ridiculous planters off the middle of the street. You know what I mean? I don't know, but it's fucking ridiculous.
But that'll be the public conversation. But what'll happen that nobody will acknowledge publicly is what's always happened everywhere this has been done. People notice there's a lot of people gone all of a sudden. All they do is get hyper vigilant. They don't go and say, hey, you notice all these people that are gone? Nobody does that. They just start
do that.
But it's standard behavior for people to start to circle the wagons, if I can use that analogy. Because just like finally, with enough case study and compilation, we know in Germany from like 1935 on, everywhere in Germany, there were people who knew, oh, wow, this is not looking cool. There were those people, but they didn't come out and get together and try and increase their numbers because they knew what would happen to them. Then they'd be in the camps that they're protesting. This is the thing. How far is it going to go?
Well, then you look at the political climate.
Yeah.
Okay, if Trump survives this term, which I think he will, if he gets reelected, which I still think he will, then you may have a situation where you have a Stalin, Hitler type of, okay, he's my political rival or my financial rival or what have you, throw him in prison, to throw him in the ICE camp. Lester Holt said this about me on last night's NBC Nightly News. Fuck him, detain him. You may have possible. That may be the next step.
That's possible, but I'm saying whether it's a Democrat or Republican, and this is going to keep going forward. Yeah. Maybe more quietly and slowly, or maybe full force ahead, depending on who it is. But none of them are going to stop these camps. None of them are going to stop ICE, no matter what the fuck they tell you. They're lying. Obama didn't close down Guantanamo Bay. Obama didn't do anything for the people like he promised. They're all the same. So they're going to keep these camps going through. Homelessness is an issue. These police union representatives are now saying they think it's a good idea because police are in danger having to deal with these people, taking up too much time against what they
harass and abuse homeless people all the time. It's a job.
I'm telling you what the police version of it is, though.
That's what I'm saying.
These are the people that are going to talk to the same Democratic and Republican politicians, and they're going to listen to them because they all love the police. And it's not going to be good. I don't think it matters who's in office. Eventually, this is going to start getting pushed through, whether slowly or fastly. It might have already started, and we just haven't noticed yet.
Yeah. I will never give Democrats any credit, but if Biden or Warren or the nice old racist man Bernie somehow upsets Trump, ICE won't close. Not at all. You're absolutely right, Tim. I do think because of some public pressure, because I don't give a fuck about indigenous people, immigrants, but because of some public pressure, they will reform ICE a little bit. I think the whole, they'll ramp down the separation of kids from their parents. I think if it hadn't already gone through the whole homeless thing with detaining homeless people by the end of Trump's term, Trump's term in what would be 2021 January, then I think the Democrat would cancel that. Now they would reform it in some other way where you're still harming people, especially people of color. But the thing,
you got a lot more faith in them than I do because
it's not so much faith. It's just
Obama kept families locked up. Bush had locked up. He didn't say let's let the kids go.
I think they'll do something else and edit what's going on. And two, Trump. Now again, they're all the same. Yeah, everybody in Washington, everybody who becomes president. But Trump, like Hillary, is as bad as it gets, and you could put Pence in the same category. So their version of oppression of marginalized people and genocide against Native and Black people is more extreme. So that's one reason why I say if a Democrat wins the election, you'll see some of those extremes be dialed back or eliminated, and then you have some reform within ICE and Border Patrol. I'm not saying the reform is a good thing. They need to freaking cancel and eradicate those programs immediately.
Bush locked Iraqi kids in prisons and Obama didn't release them. So I don't know, man. It's just I got my view on what I think. I don't think it's gonna matter. They might do it slicker, and the people will support it. Definitely, if it's a Democrat doing the evil shit, the people will support it. The majority will support it.
I agree. It won't matter because ICE will still be there. They'll still be, raping Native women and girls. They'll still be detaining people of color, doing all these horrible things, sending them back to countries that are now very dangerous because of American intervention. Most definitely. I'm just saying Trump is very extreme and more extreme than, I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. I mean, he makes McCain look tame. And
I think he's more honest about it.
Well, but
he doesn't care if he looks like a dictator or authoritarian. The other ones don't want to look like that, so they'll pretend not to be what they truly are. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. You're probably right on this, but I just never seen a Democrat do anything to negate the terrible atrocities going on.
Yeah, and I agree with that. They don't negate it. At times they may limit it, or at times they may exacerbate it through reforms, like the Clinton crime bill, like the intervention in Libya after Bush created AFRICOM to install military bases, U.S. military bases all over Africa. So maybe those reforms may be something worse. I'd still say they'd be, I don't want to say better, but they wouldn't be as bad. And then I think that's the point that people need to take away if they're listening to this show or just thinking about this in general. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter in terms of who's in office because they're still harming all these people. They're still harming homeless people, whether they detain them in ICE centers or not. So
true.
They need to be held accountable. They need to all be impeached. You need to eradicate this government and, well, for one, hand it back to this land to the indigenous people. But that is like a line from my favorite movie, Apollo 13. I'm talking about step 632. We are on number 8. We are on step 8. So one at a time.
Well, I think the difference between what you two guys are saying is, like, I just somehow naturally understand better Nolan's perspective, and it's a political perspective. And that's exactly what matters. Welcome to the 21st century. I mean, one of the things about Canada is it's infamous with our party politics, and there's only ever two parties that run the country. And if Party A has been in for 10 years, when Party B gets in, they spend 3 of their first 4 years getting rid of what Party A did. And then they bring back half of it, but with a new name and say it's theirs. So, I get what you're saying. And that's just it. Another question I have is, if this does pick up, how is it going to be used in the big picture? Will it be ignored for the benefit of the apparatus, or will it be used to go against whoever's in there at the time? Does it become a tool for positive propaganda, quote unquote, or does it become a tool of insurrection? Because both are possible.
On the party.
Well, that's what I was saying. If Trump wins, then you're talking about positive propaganda. I'm going to throw my political rivals in there now. I'm going to throw women in high school who wouldn't go out.
He's saying like how will they promote it?
Well, it's just in terms of enemies of the state. If you control the media. And Trump wants to just make his own media. I mean, for goodness sake, you can say whatever you want about whoever you throw in jail. But
I think what will happen is if Republicans are in, They'll be like, we got these filthy people up off the streets, and they're not going to show the camps. They're going to be like, whatever they're doing, cool. And little about them is possible, just like they do these. If the Democrats are in there, they'll find one that runs kind of decent and be like, look, we're helping these people so much. They'll show doctors and promote it like that. But I think that's the only difference, is how it's promoted. Is that what you were asking, Glenn?
Well, you're both having a different take on it, and I see both of those. But what I'm saying is the media is going to sell it. It doesn't matter who's dishing it out, Republicans or Democrats. The media is going to sell it because it's a huge risk for them not to in this day and age. But the issue I'm concerned with is if it's a Democrat president and this goes on, why do I think that the American public will be calmer about it overall?
Oh, yeah.
Than if it's a Republican. And that's the thing that makes America different to me.
That's what I was trying to say. If a Democrat does it, like Obama, he's the greatest president. He did terrible, terrible things. And Bush and Trump are bad, who do some of the same terrible things.
Yeah.
That's how they are. They just, because the Democrats smile and throw you a bone.
And to both your points, ICE, and talking about ICE, people act like Trump invented ICE. In fact, the Bush administration that created ICE and created Homeland Security, which is the overseas ICE. And Obama deported more people than any president in U.S. history. There were detention centers already under his administration. Kids were already in cages. It's just, like I was saying, it's more extreme now. And I remember saying before the 2016 election, that day in November when it happened, I was saying things domestically will be worse under Trump, but if she wins, things internationally will be worse under her, because she's literally destroyed countries because they're predominantly black countries. We're trying to gain or maintain our freedom there. She don't like that. And he's very vocal about having things exactly his way on his doorstep. Things have to be the alt-white Donald Trump white hood with the two holes in the hat way. That's looking at that, Biden looks like he's the front runner. So if he wins, then you have kind of a Hillary light, like Obama, Vice President of Obama, where a lot of things that he's going to do are going to be horrible, but they're going to be hidden, but not as extreme as someone like a Hillary or a Pence or Trump, But if Donald gets reelected, then even though either way those camps will still be open, ICE will still exist, the Border Patrol still exists, homeless people will still be messed with, immigrants will still be messed with, but the level of oppression, I think, will be a little higher. And at the same time, like Glenn was saying, it will still have a bigger light shone on it because of Republicans in office, and especially someone like Trump, who's very honest about his racism, and Republicans are usually more honest about the racism than Democrats. But if Biden wins and he tries to make like a private prison situation, but with ICE detention centers, that'll kind of get swept under the radar. And even though in my mind, you will have less instances of a child dying in detention or having, U.S. veterans being taken away, actual U.S. citizens that the Trump administration and ICE deem as, no, they're not. We don't think they're Americans, so they're not Americans. We're going to put them in detention centers and then deport them. Then that'll be more either apologized for and mostly just swept under the rug if it's a Democrat. But I think if it's Trump, it's just going to be more extreme, and there'll be more of that fake outrage because it's just been outrage. It's just, well, then do something about it. If you really care about these damn senators, even the politicians like Jeff Merkley, a senator, I think it was at Oregon, AOC, they go to the camps. This is horrible. Wait a minute. You've been looking the other way and helping this government abuse immigrants, and you're going to pretend to care. And it's the same thing with the citizens. They look the other way, yet they still support the cops, support law enforcement. Well, you just said help them, but you're also saying hurt them by saying support law enforcement. So
that's what I'm telling you. They both the same, man. You
yeah,
look at the subtle differences, I agree. But they the same.
In brass tacks, it's the same. Brass tacks, the same. You got to get rid of all of it. It's the only way any of this is going to stop.
They two sides of the same coin.
Reform is not change.
Yeah, American reform is just evolved genocide.
Well, yeah, we got to wrap this show up. But anything else either one of you want to say before we go?
I will say, fuck Prince Harry. And speaking of fake outrage, saying how his wife is keeps suffering racism in the media, keeps hounding her.
Is that the one that was on the Epstein flights? Is that who you're talking about?
No, that was the old. It was Edward or something, Prince Edward, older, not one of the Charles and Diana's kids, but yeah, Harry married Suits star or former Suits star Meghan Markle, who's black. And of course, everybody hates that because how dare you have Negro blood ruining the crown blood, the crown legacy. But I just found it very hypocritical that this dude who wore a Nazi swastika at a party, thinking it was no big deal, pretends or says he cares about his black wife's racism that she's enduring through the media. Of course, it's that whole, I have a black wife, I'm not racist. My best friend's black. My postman is black. The president was black.
Him.
Nothing's racist.
Anything else about this show?
No, I'm good.
Fuck those royal people anyway. They're all welfare recipients.
Give back South Africa.
We'll trash them on another show. What?
Give it to that crown. Give back South Africa completely. Get out of there. Give back Australia. You still got part of the Australian, New Zealand flags. Have the English flag in there.
The English fucked up the whole world just as bad as the United States has.
It's if there was a scoreboard, we're going into overtime.
Yeah. Cool.
My money's on the States.
Yeah. Things done changed.
Glenn, you got any last words? Because you didn't talk a lot. Anything else you want to bring up before we go?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the royal family is the royal family. And just like what Trump says sells papers in the States, what the royals say sell papers in the UK. There's your story.
Yep. And I'll just leave it with take care of the people around you, your community. Nobody's above or beneath you. And fight and die for them motherfuckers that would fight and die for you. Everyone should be a community together. And we could end this quick. Unite. Thanks for listening, everybody. 7 and who else is in here? Way up here.
Knick-knack.
Knick-knack and 7 and everyone else listening. We appreciate you and we'll be back hopefully very soon. And Tim is my bitch, said 7. Okay.
And apparently I love Glenn and we're supposed to be getting married, Glenn. Yeah. So I don't know where you want to register.
I'd encourage everyone to read through the comments because 7 is awesome.
That's news to me.
All right. All right. We're out.